Sergio Ramos scored 101 goals in his career. As a defender, as a kid, his friends nicknamed him after a legendary goal scorer. He'd go on to spend almost 20 years playing the position furthest away from scoring goals at all. He's not alone. Dani Alves started out as a winger, until his own father moved him to right back. For one blunt reason, he wasn't scoring enough. He'd go on to win more trophies than almost any player in football history. Giorgio Chiellini played central midfield, then winger, before finally becoming one of the greatest centre-backs Italy has ever produced. Puyol didn't even start as an outfield player. He was a goalkeeper, then a forward, then almost by accident, a legendary defender who never played for another club in his life. Nobody dreams of growing up to be a defender. Kids want the ball at their feet, running at goal, scoring the winner. This isn't a story about 5 careers that took a wrong turn. It's about 5 players who ended up in the position nobody wants, and became legends there anyway. Sergio Ramos is the highest scoring defender in La Liga history, 101 goals for Real Madrid alone. As a kid, he played up front for his hometown club, Las Palmas. He was so fast that, according to the club's own president at the time, the old field was huge and he ran up and down it like a band. It was too small for him. His friends nicknamed him after Bernd Schuster, a player famous for scoring, not defending. Real Madrid signed him at 19 in 2005, alongside club legend Alfredo Di Stefano at his unveiling. He'd go on to make 671 appearances over 16 seasons, the 4th most in the club's entire history. But it wasn't at forward. Ramos became one of the greatest centre-backs the sport has ever produced. 4 Champions Leagues, 5 La Liga titles, and the single most iconic goal in Real Madrid's modern history, a 93rd minute header against Atletico Madrid in the 2014 Champions League final, dragging his team back from the brink when nobody else believed it was still possible. A boy who ran too fast for his own pitch became a man who spent 2 decades stopping other people from doing exactly that. Even Ramos himself has said it. People forget about the defensive work that one does and the team does to win a match. The goals were never really the point. They were just proof that the instincts of a striker never fully left him. He grew up sleeping on a concrete slab in a mud house on his father's farm in the Brazilian countryside, the youngest of 5 children, up at 5 in the morning most days, working the land before school. His father, Domingos, had a real passion for football and put together his own local team. Dani played alongside the neighborhood kids, chasing the same dream his older brother Ney already had. A way out of the interior and into Bahia's biggest club. At 6 years old, Dani started out exactly where every kid on that dirt pitch wanted to be, out wide, attacking, a winger in his brother's shadow. Then reality intervened. He went 2 to 3 months without scoring a single goal. He was the 3rd choice, his own father admitted years later, so Domingos made the call himself, pulling his son back into defense, to right back, the position Dani would play for the rest of his career. But he was very intelligent, his father said. It shows in his playing. That intelligence took him from Bahia's academy to Sevilla, then a £23 million move to Barcelona that made him, at the time, the most expensive defender in the world. He'd go on to become the most decorated professional footballer in the sport's history. Over 40 trophies across Barcelona, Juventus and PSG, a Champions League treble, and a Copa America with Brazil as the tournament's best player. A boy who wasn't scoring enough goals to stay up front became the player defenses across Europe feared getting the ball forward of them anyway. Not with his finishing, but with pace, vision, and a relentless will to attack from the one position nobody expected it from. He wasn't the fastest, he wasn't the most gifted. By his own admission, he wasn't born with much technical skill at all. I was not born with many technical skills, Chiellini said. I had to improve and work. That work started at Livorno's academy at just 6 years old, as a central midfielder. As he grew, the club pushed him further forward into a winger's role, chasing whatever raw talent he had. It didn't stick. He eventually moved back, settling into left back, a position he'd play through his teenage years and into his first professional seasons. Even that wasn't the end of the reshuffling. In 2000, AC Milan brought him in for a trial. One teammate from that tournament remembered him as big with superhuman strength, enough that everyone around him assumed Milan would sign him on the spot. They didn't. Milan couldn't agree to terms for a 15-year-old, and Chiellini went back to Livorno instead. He kept working, kept adjusting. By the time Juventus signed him in 2004, he'd already been a midfielder, a winger, and a left back. 3 different identities before he'd even turned 20. It was at Juventus where the final piece clicked. Moved inside to centre-back, the position that would define the rest of his career. 9 consecutive Serie A titles, 2 Champions League finals, a European Championship, won as Italy's captain in 2021. Giorgio Chiellini never had the gift some of the others on this list had. What he had instead was a willingness to be moved again and again until the game finally told him exactly where he belonged. "Sometimes I played as a goalkeeper with my brother and his friends," Puyol once said. "They were all older and nobody wanted to go in goal, so it had to be me. That's how it started. Not ambition, not talent scouted early. A kid in a small Pyrenees town stuck in goal because nobody else would do it. A back injury ended that. So Puyol did the only thing that made sense to a kid who still wanted to play. He moved as far from goal as possible, becoming a striker. He was good enough at it that people in his hometown started calling him the Romario from La Pobla, after the legendary Brazilian goal scorer. Then in Barcelona found him. His first coach at La Masia, Joan Martinez Vilaseca, remembered him instantly. I had never seen someone so eager to play football, more remarkable for his physical condition than his technique. He had something different. Barcelona didn't know what to do with him either. He was tried at defensive midfield, then right wing back. By the time he reached the first team in 1999, Puyol had already been a goalkeeper, a striker, a midfielder and a fullback. 4 different careers before he'd played a single senior match in his best position. He knew exactly what he lacked. "I don't have Romario's technique, Overmars' pace, or Kluivert's strength," he admitted himself. What he had instead was enough desire to conquer the world that a coach noticed it in a tryout before he'd even proven anything on the ball. Puyol became Barcelona's captain, led them through the greatest era in the club's history and won 21 major trophies. A sextuple in a single season among them, all without ever playing for another club. A boy who ended up in goal because nobody else wanted to. A striker nicknamed after Romario, and in the end, one of the greatest defenders football has ever produced. Not despite all those changes, but because of everything each one of them taught him along. Nesta's career almost didn't start with football at all. His older brother Fernando had back problems, and a doctor recommended sport, so their father enrolled him at the local club. Alessandro, watching from the sidelines, threw a tantrum until his father gave in and enrolled him too. That's how it began. Not a childhood dream, but a 9-year-old's jealousy of his brother. Lazio signed him at 9, and for years, nobody quite knew what to do with him. He played striker, he played midfielder, wearing the captain's armband even as a kid, already taller than everyone around him. Nesta kept getting tried in positions further and further forward, before the club finally settled him into defence. It didn't take long to see what they'd found. By 21, he was Lazio's captain. In 1999 to 2000, he led them to a league and cup double. He'd already shown exactly how fierce he could be years earlier. A training ground tackle so hard it seriously injured Lazio's own star player, Paul Gascoigne, sidelining him for months. Financial trouble forced Lazio to sell their best player in 2002. AC Milan picked him up, and Nesta became part of one of the greatest defensive partnerships football has ever seen, alongside Paolo Maldini. He won the Champions League in his very first season there, scoring the winning penalty in the shootout himself. The World Cup winner in 2006, 4-time Serie A Defender of the Year, named one of the top 100 greatest living footballers. All of it started because a boy couldn't stand watching his brother play without him, and only found his real position once football had run out of other places to put him.